Let's hear from our winning car owner and our winning crew chief for the second consecutive week as they nail down race number 2 in the contender round, and that's the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford from Team Penske. We're joined by car owner and race team owner Roger Penske and crew chief Todd Gordon as Joey Logano wins the second consecutive race in the contender round. His 13th win overall, his 5th win in 2015. I'm going to start with you, Todd. Certainly building upon the momentum of last week, you win here at Kansas. You know, I've always been of the opinion that sports is all about momentum, and certainly you all have it right now.
Yeah, it's this section of, you know, obviously Kansas is a place that we've run really well, and knew that we needed to pull out a win here in the first 2 to make Talladega what it was, and fortunate enough to get it last week at Charlotte, but knew that we could come here and run strong. Just a phenomenal effort by everybody. Pit crew did a good job. Joey drove his butt off today. Good hard racing out there.
Thank you, Todd. And Roger, you know, certainly these don't get old at all as Joey Logano continues to establish himself as somebody that these other drivers are going to have to beat to get the Sprint Cup trophy this year. So just talk about that and just about the you know, this driver that has just come on now and has really just established himself likely right now as the person to beat.
Well, I think we're, you know, very fortunate to have, you know, Joey on our team. He came on here a few years ago, and it's really been up ever since. And there's no question that, you know, he and Brad, I've said it before, have made quite a bond together. And the 2 crew chiefs with Paul and Todd, they've worked together on the Nationwide Infinity, and then, of course, have come together here. So, you know, the speed we have is we got great cars, and it's a really, when you think back of the guys at the shop that are building these cars every day, and certainly the way the pit crews have operated, you see we've made a big step on pit crews thanks to Todd and Paul, and I think Joey has stepped up his game tremendously. I mean, he's got confidence. He's a great driver, and I think that we've seen that. He's won on the road course. He's won on the big tracks, and there's no question that you know, we're very fortunate to have him as one of our drivers, and I think that you know, he's going to be in the sport a long time and win a lot of races.
Questions now for either Todd or Roger. Raise your hand. We'll start here on the front row with Lewis, and we'll go over to Kenny. Go ahead.
Louis Frank of Reuters. Roger, you are a racer yourself, and ordinarily a leader, you know, chooses the line, but when a leader blocks, I was wondering what your take, you know, on that incident was. Well,
I was, you know, up on the outside, so I saw, you know, a couple times Joey got squeezed, you know, off of 2 and I think over in 3. And as they went down into 1, Joey had a fender up inside, or he was on the outside of the 20, and he got in the wall. I don't know if you saw that or not. And then he turned down. Joey did to take the lower lane, and there was another car up there, I think a slower car, and then Kansas came down. Unfortunately, they got together. I don't like to see that any more than anybody else does. It's one of those racing accidents. It's real tough when it's in this kind of a situation, but there was no question that that Kansas was doing everything he could to keep Joey from going by.
Let's go to Kenny Bruce.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. Actually, I was going to ask the same thing, but I wondered if I could get Todd's reaction to that. As far as what did you see that was taking place when all that unfolded?
I saw 2 guys racing their butts off, and you know, Joey had a couple runs at Matt, and Matt blocked both of them, and unfortunately got us in the wall into turn 1, and you know, there's more contact that prevails beyond the contact of the wall, and it's just hard racing. 2 guys that want to win, and both have you know, they're both, and Joey's talked about it, they're both very competitive race car drivers, and they do a lot of similar things, and neither one of them was going to give there, and obviously it came out the way it did.
Let's go right here on the front row.
Todd, just, I don't think anybody's ever been in this position before where you've got, you know, 2 wins in a round. I mean, how much pressure do you feel like you guys were able to put on the rest of the chase field by, you know, essentially, you know, locking everybody else, you know, out?
That was that. I mean, we talked about the team meeting ahead of time, and we've talked about it all week because, you know, the opportunity after you win Charlotte is that winners go on, and if you can go ahead and lock everybody else out, it puts everybody else that's a chase contender on edge going to Talladega. It's a great advantage. You know, it's we'll take what we can, and it's a I haven't had to race Talladega needing to perform there with a win here last year, this team's done a great job of making sure that everybody else has to.
Go ahead, young lady, raise your hand, we'll get you the mic.
This question's for Todd. I'm Diane Cox, Advantage News out of St. Louis. With the chase format and I'm trying to remember how I was phrasing my question. I'll tell you what, can you come back to me, please? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. That's okay. We'll go right here. Brant James, raise your head, Brant, and then we'll go to Stan, and then Bob Pockris. Brant James, Stan, Bob Pockris.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. Has this new tweak on the playoff format, has this altered the rules of give and take of what, you know, how drivers interact with each other in these sort of late race circumstances when there's eliminations? And, you know, now Matt Kenseth, you know, a big win leader in the series this year is really in trouble to advance to that next round.
Well, you know, I think the chase format was designed, you know, to create tension, to create competition, and certainly pressure, you know, on the teams and the drivers. You know, from the standpoint of the way they drive on the racetrack, you just have to watch the restarts and see it's elbows and elbows out the window there every time. And I think this situation here at the end, as I said earlier, it's unfortunate. You don't like to see that, but you know, if you go back and you look at it, you know, frame by frame, I don't think you can say that Joey just ran into him on purpose. I think there was movement on the 20 car coming down on him, and certainly when he got in the wall, we didn't run in the wall in turn one just because we wanted to. So to me, it's unfortunate for Matt and Joe Gibbs, but I think the format is terrific. I mean, we're stepping up, and our guys are bringing better cars. We worked on these cars for months to have them available for this time of the year. And I think that we're starting to show that speed here as we get into the chase.
Stan, and then we'll go here. You have one? Front row, go ahead.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Todd, did you alter the approach towards the tail end of the race? Because you seem to be really quick for the short period, and then Kenseth would get in front of you. But there at the end, you seem to be quicker all along the way.
We build our race cars to do that. You have to look at the end of the race and checkered flag and race your race backwards. So I think we understand how we need to make our cars to be successful in that last stint, and how our cars need to be for the whole race. Honestly, we didn't have the speed the 48 or 20 had in the middle of the race. Had a tire come apart actually, and fell back a little ways, but definitely had a strategy for how we wanted to end the race, and when the caution comes, and we're able to play that strategy and definitely find speed in our race car.
Let's go Bob Pockris, and then we'll go back to you.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. For Roger, I mean, not only was this a race for the win, but Kenseth being so far down in points, it virtually puts him in a must-win situation at Talladega. How much do you feel like their racing was for winning one race, and how much do you feel it was, knowing that if you can beat Matt, that his chances of moving on are much, much slimmer?
I don't think that at any time we were calculating, where Kenseth was going to be either out front or behind. I mean, the race, the checker flag hadn't fallen, and we were still racing. You could see the last pit stop, we had an excellent stop, came out there right up front. And to me, Joey, had more in the car. I think you'll see that when it's time to go. You saw it yesterday. We're back at 14th, and it was time to go, and the Infiniti finished third. So, to me, as I said before, I mean, that's the game we're in. Last year, Brad had to go to Talladega and win that race to go to the next round. So that's going to be the case next week for a number of drivers.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Take two. Todd, again. It seems like you found your niche at Kansas. Were you able to roll off the trailer and kind of open up last year's book, repeat back-to-back years here at Kansas in this race? Were you able to just roll off and kind of know where to pick up, or did you have to kind of find your speed today?
Yeah, I don't think, the thing is if you ever tried to take a setup you had from the spring to the fall, you're going to slow down. Because you look at it, I think we were looking at it, and pole speed was up a tremendous amount. Everybody makes their race cars better. But I think the thing that you look at is, You know, we understand what we have to feel in our race car. Joey does a phenomenal job of it, of what we need to feel in a race car in practice to be successful come race time. Because you really don't ever get to race the line that the track widens up come race time, and there's some things that happen with the track, and once you know what that offset is and what you're looking for in practice to be successful, you look for those same things. And we felt really good about our car yesterday. We had speed, but we had the balance that we needed to have to come forward racing, and it played out again.
Go ahead, front row.
Sean Roney, Dos Mundos newspaper for Roger and Todd. Afterward on television, Joey had said to NBC that he'd responded, he felt he was raced aggressively, and he responded by racing aggressively. And obviously, moving forward, as it gets closer to the Cup Championship, there's going to be more aggressive racing. As members of his race team, how do you prepare him for racing that's obviously going to get more aggressive?
I think that, you know, he's got to race the guys around it. We don't race the car. You know, we prepare the car, bring it to the track. So each one of these drivers know what the circumstances are, and with that, they're going to make the moves that are necessary to try to get ahead. And you could see it on restarts and today, to me, that's what's going to be the pattern as we go, you know, for the next 4 or 5 races.
Finish up with 2 more here on the front row. Got Lewis, and then we'll finish with Todd.
Roger, you kind of touched upon, Louis Frank Reuters, you kind of touched upon this. What, if any, concerns do you have going forward for the number 2 team, especially in the light of the performance of the 22 this segment?
Well, I think that, you know, we have good transparency between the 2 teams. There's no question about it. And I think, as you saw, Brad got better there at the end, made a big move, and I think that was because we're sharing data up and down the pit road, you know, during the race. And I think that, you know, Paul and Todd will get together with Travis and Mike this week, and they'll look at what are the things that work and what didn't. They'll use that in their playbook as we go forward.
Final question.
Todd, one last thing. We heard a lot of chatter that on some of the restarts, Kenseth, with maybe brake checking guys and kind of, you know, shortstop in the field. Can you speak about that at all? Is that accurate?
There's data out there to take a look at it. I'm sure that TV and NASCAR have that. I can't speak for it. They do look like they roll up pretty slowly to the restart zone, but I can't speak for, I mean, I have no information that tells me anything differently. I know when we rolled up to the restart zone, we rolled up at pace car speed and had a good restart, and Joey was successful with it.
Congratulations to the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford, Team Penske, Roger Penske, Todd Gordon, on the 2nd straight win here today, and we'll see you at Talladega.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.